One of the things that I wanted to start working on this time was putting in some sound effects because, of course, it's just been silent up until this point. Now, like with the art, I don't have any sound skills myself. I have to kind of, again, download assets that I found. So I've got something for the cannon to move. So that is actually the sound of luggage rolling. And then I've also got for rotation this kind of crank thing. Now, I quite like the crank, but there's a problem with this. It sounds like there's this background noise, and then when it stops, it's kind of abruptly quiet, which I think is weird. So I figured maybe as it's like a city setting, I need some kind of ambient sound in the background. So this is Audacity. Actually, let me show you what I've found first of all. So I went to Free Sound and I typed in a search for City at Night, and I've been through loads of clips and I found all sorts of different ones that have got different things in there. And I've tried to put something together which sounds a bit like a city. So I'll shut up. So this is just a really quiet background. Over here, just about hear a dog barking. This is some crickets. Over here we got a car going past. And so then the whole thing is just over a minute and a half. And I figured I can create this and this can loop and this can be kind of a background, almost like a background track, rather than have music in the game like I had with Pong. So I haven't put this in yet. I haven't even created the audio file, but I kind of wanted to see, how that would sound. So I'll try it out. So in my content thing here, I've got sound effects. I'm just going to load it into here. I'm not going to bother with like a music folder. So I'm just going to put that in there, save and rebuild. Okay, so if I play this now, you can hear it. And I think that sounds a little better as it stops. It doesn't sound as jarring. There's definitely something with that collision, but I think it sounds... There's still a kind of a click which I can hear in my headphones. I don't know if it's picking it up. But anyway, like as I always say, it's just a test project. It doesn't have to be perfect. But I think that sounds a little bit better, and at least I've got something going now. Yeah. So I could do with sound effects for things like obviously charging the orb, firing the orb. I'm going to want sound effects when I hit those. It could be quite a few sorts of sound effects that I could put in really. But yeah, at least I've got something to start with. I don't think it's too distracting having that background because it's quite subtle. So yeah, I think that will do for now. One of the things that has really been bugging me about the game recently is that I felt like there was a problem with the collision detection where it just was kind of, it was like it wasn't registering it properly if it hit the bottom of a window. So if I come down to this bottom one here, oh, I hit it that time. I think if I need to kind of get it on the corner and it misses, and I now know why, but I want to kind of demonstrate it first. I've just kind of got to, let me just do some of these, otherwise I'm going to lose the game. Right, if I can just quickly get back over here. Right, so now there. Right, so that is the ball. You can see the ball is definitely going over the corner of that window, and yet it's still not registering a collision. So what I've done is I thought it's got to be something to do with like my bounding rectangles. So I wanted to put something in that would allow me to test it. So I've added something to my base kind of utility library called Calamo to allow me to draw a rectangle around one of my objects. Now I'll go into this when I do the next update for my Calamo project. So I don't want to go into this now, but I just want to show you how it works. So what it allows me to do is basically, if I set a property of draw bounds equals true on any object in the game, it will just draw a red rectangle around it. So that's the player object, and it just helps me debug. And so I can do this for all of them. So I've done it for like the buildings. Yeah, so you can see quite clearly where each individual sprite is. So this is what it's doing. It's drawing a box around the actual sprite. So I thought there was a problem with the windows, but it isn't. So I didn't want the actual window sill. I know it's a little bit hard to see, so it's small, but I didn't want the window sill to be part of it because it isn't. The you know, the dreamer is inside the window, and I didn't want this kind of bit on the left and the top because that's kind of like the shadow of the window. But if I turn that off and I put on the orb, we're going to be able to see where the bug is. So straight away here, you can see that the actual bounding box is not in the right place. I don't know if you can see that clearly enough, but basically the problem is that in order for the orb to correctly display in sync with the cannon, I had to change the origin of it to the center of the ball, and the bug is that the bounding box doesn't take that into account, and so the bounding box is incorrect. So it should be a really easy fix. I'm going to go and see if I can fix it and then come back. Yeah, it was literally 2 lines of code. If I show you all it was, where I update my bounds for the sprite, I just needed to take into account the origin here. So, oh, where's the game? That's going to be too low, isn't it? But yeah, like one over here. Do still have to actually hit it. But yeah, so now I can hit that corner and that's okay. So it's just a little debugging tool, just something that's just, you know, allows me to debug problems like that more easily, you know, to visualize things as they're happening on the screen. But I'm glad I've got that bug fixed because that was just really driving me crazy. So now I can get on with doing something more interesting than just bug fixing. So what I wanted to do next was have a way to actually finish the level without losing. Oh shit, the that nightmare meter is ticking up. So you'll notice now I've got a clock ticking up there, and what I've done for this is I've put in a little utility class, a clock class in my Calamo library. Now alongside this video I'm going to be doing another one for this Calamo library because I've spent quite a bit of time over the last few days just fiddling around with stuff on the back end of that, so I'll put that in a separate library. Now what I'm actually going to do here is just to show what happens when you reach it. So the way this works is you initialize a clock, you say how many minutes it should last in real time, and then sort of the start and end time in kind of like game hours. So if I move this really quickly and then rerun the game, this will start ticking up really fast, and then it's set in here so that it starts at kind of a game time of 9 p.m. and then a game time of 6 a.m. So this should finish any moment. There we go. And it just says level complete. So what I now need to do, so now you've got a way to lose the game by hitting that. So if I come up to, so if I put that back up to 5 minutes, but then I change the spawn to make it really fast. This is where the nightmare meter then ticks up very quickly, and you can lose very quickly. So you've now got a way to kind of win the game and lose the game. So the next thing I want to tackle is what happens then. So what I really want is to have 3 different levels. So I've talked about this before, having this list of buildings and this JSON file where I define all that. So what I want to do next is to be able to load in multiple levels and then I want 3 different levels, and then once you've finished all 3, you then finish the game. So now that I've got the ability to have an actual countdown timer and a game clock, there was something that I really wanted to add, and I think it's really made a big difference. So let me just play the game and you'll see what it is if I press the right button. So now the game actually starts off at night. So I've changed the timer so that it starts off at midnight, and then gradually over the progress of the level it just gets gradually lighter. So when the clock hits 6 a.m. I've currently got it on about 45 seconds. That should be enough for me to waffle. That will be at the full brightness, which is what the game was that I've been doing like the whole time. One thing that I did think about doing was trying to do like a sunrise coming up, but I would have to put that kind of in between these buildings, around the back of the building somewhere. And the problem is that this texture, I actually ended up compressing that into just one thing. So there you go. It now looks, you know, how it was at the start of the game. And I think, you know, I think that's just a much better effect. So obviously if I do this over, how long would I do this for? I don't know how long to make a level actually. Where is it? God, this class is getting long. I think I need to refactor. Where's my clock? So if I had this as say 5 minutes, I think it'd be a little bit more subtle. So you'd start it off, it's dark, and you'd be sitting there watching it for a while, and then it'd only kind of gradually go up. And this was kind of partly inspired by, well, I guess most games do this to be fair, but like one I've been playing recently was Stardew Valley, and I noticed how bloody dark it gets as it gets towards the end of the night. And of course mine is the opposite way round, but now it kind of, it fits in with the whole dream theme, because now it's clearly nighttime and these people are dreaming. And that kind of gives me a setting for the concept of the game that I think actually makes sense. So I'm really pleased with that, and it was, again, it was something that was just so simple to do. So if I come down to my draw code, I made use of this lerp function, which was something that I used to do the nightmare meter. And all it does is I've put in a dark tint is a color which I defined at the top of the file, and it's just like a deep dark kind of darky blue, and it just lerps from the dark color to the white color based on, and I've just exposed another little property on my clock class, which I did, which is the progress, which is kind of how far through the cycle we are. So again, just basically 2 lines of code, and then I just, well, a few more, I just set the colors of the particular thing. So the background is drawn here with a dark to light tint, and then the building, I just set the color there to the tint, and it just works. So, you know, I spent ages today trying to get that bloody clock class working, but then managing to do this part, which I think makes such a big difference, took me about 10 minutes. So, yeah, that is the end of this video, guys. And one thing I keep forgetting to mention in all of these devlogs is that if you are interested in how I've built these, in this game and the Pong game and everything, it's all on GitHub, and I have the link to that in the description, so you can just check out the source code, you know, tell me how shit my code is or whatever. It's all on there. Okay, all right, thanks very much for watching, guys. Speak to you next time.